morning, everyone. Wow, that's great. A very attentive audience. Thank you very much. My name is Jim DeWald. I'm the Dean of the Haskayne School of Business, and I want to welcome you all here. You know, when we started this, we thought, well, let's create something that's a little different, a little more energizing. And how can we do that? So we've created this new series we call the Haskayne Hour, which is not only a showcasing of some of the great research that's going on in our school, but people often say to me, well, Jim, how practical is that research? Well, this series is all about, let's figure that out. Let's put together one of our top researchers with a top person from industry, and let's see how they do get along together on a specific topic. So I hope that you enjoy this, and I hope you mark it down to come on a monthly basis to these sessions. We'll be dealing with topics in all areas: finance, today's marketing, strategy, so on and so forth. Maybe not accounting, it's kind of boring. No, maybe accounting too. But anyhow, it's my pleasure to welcome you here. And this series runs under our Associate Dean of Research. So I'm going to hand it over right now to Lauren Falkenberg, who's our Associate Dean of Research. Please join me in welcoming Lauren Falkenberg.
So, like Jim, I really thank you for coming out to this second series. Part of the structuring was to demonstrate that the research in Haskayne is rigorous and relevant. So the rigorous we'll have when we have the research person come up and present their research. The relevance comes with having an industry expert here. So in the next hour, we're going to hear about how to compete in an age of omni-channel retailing. I think of it as marketing has to change their mantra of location, location, location to geolocation, geolocation, geolocation. So our researcher today is Mohammed Rahman. He got his PhD from Purdue University and then joined Haskayne 6 years ago. He's been a very active researcher, and one of the more interesting elements of his record is that he just published an article in Sloan Management Review. And it got a lot of traction there, and so MIT turned it into a webinar, and I understand there was almost 1,000 people participating in that webinar. So what I'd like to do right now is turn it over to Mohammed.
Good morning. Thanks for coming to this presentation. It's a great pleasure to be able to talk to you about omnichannel retailing and actually share some of my thoughts with you. Let me begin with a few questions. How many of you are actually carrying a smartphone and actually thinking about the fact that the smartphone allows others to potentially track that you are in this room? So it allows us to know your geolocation. Can you please raise your hands? Great. Now, have you thought about the implications of knowing your location? And also the fact that you have so much information available at your fingertips right now with your smartphone. So, you know, these are the abilities that is actually changing the retail landscape as we know it. So we're changing radical shifts basically in retail landscape because of the technological advancements. Knowing the fact that you are in this room, we could potentially send a message to you. So can retailers where you're actually standing inside a retail store. But more importantly, you could be standing at a retail store and actually looking at any information you want, thus limiting the ability of the retailer to take advantage of geography and customers' ignorance. So what we're seeing is the online and physical world, the distinctions are vanishing. And because of advanced technologies that are enabled by smartphones and other devices, that are coupling basically physical touch and feel information with online content, and thus creating an omni-channel retailing world. And I want to first sort of, give you a perspective of how it is to really shop in this new environment. So let's look at a short video to get a sense of that.
Welcome to Pointer.
Let's go shopping.
A Seattle store that claims to be changing the game by merging the in-store experience with online convenience.
It doesn't take away anything good about shopping, but it gets rid of nonsense.
No piles of products, no mannequins and merchandise. This is it. And here, customers control the goods with their phones. Using a special Pointer app, you scan the product code. The system asks your size, assigns you a dressing room, and within 30 seconds, your choices appear. The store was designed with male shoppers in mind.
It just was easy, and I kept buying. I kept like, I want to try those, I want to try those, I want to see more come down the chute.
And you wouldn't have done that before in a traditional store?
No.
Even those that think they're hard to fit.
When I got these, I'm built kind of differently. So they had my size, but they didn't.
What does that mean? Differently than what?
I got a little jump.
But the concept has women coming in too.
Once people see what it is, this store will appeal to any person who wears clothes.
For mother and hairdresser Ivory Anderson, the appeal is not just what she finds in the store, but also what she doesn't.
Crazy shopkeepers.
Trying to sell you things.
Right. Or a 17-year-old with their first job who is a size 0 who doesn't understand, you know.
In fact, in the privacy of your dressing room, you can try on as much as you'd like. I can't be sure, but I might need a belt. Need a different size? Use your phone to order more and drop any unwanted items down the return chute. The system updates on your phone. So, whereas in most stores they keep all the inventory out in the store where you can see it, here everything is hidden behind this wall. Thousands of jeans packed into a micro warehouse along with a super secret delivery system that we're not even allowed to see.
It is kind of our secret sauce.
Shurabura says that top secret, super fast system is what helps her to keep costs down and customers happy. A few large retailers are now interested in buying it. But is this really the future of shopping?
Well, you know, as you can see, in this business model, the businesses are definitely saving a lot of money because there is lower cost, you don't have less sales associates, and obviously you don't have to have products on the shelf. But more importantly, in this model, which is basically the concierge model, your concierge is your smartphone. Your knowledgeable, very knowledgeable shopping assistant. You can practically shop without interacting with a single human being. Of course, if you're interested in interacting with someone, getting some help, you can. But the key is you don't have to. And this has been a model, this concierge model has been pioneered by Apple for the last several years. And now others are actually following suit. And changes like these are basically driving the shifts we're seeing in omni-channel retailing. In speaking about the customers of eBay, the CEO, John Donahue, he says, we're finding out how people shop now. They're standing in a line at Starbucks, let's say, and they start browsing on eBay. They see something they want, and they buy it right there. Now, this is great as long as you're buying your Starbucks coffee or latte and you're doing multitasking. No problem with that, right? Starbucks is cool with that. But this is a worrisome practice if you're standing at a Best Buy store and then you are actually looking for prices of a product you're looking at on Amazon or buy.com. And you know, apps like Red Laser, which basically allows you to scan a product and it'll basically find the prices of this product on other competing sites, allows you to get that information right away. Now, if you're doing that standing at a Best Buy, let's say you're buying a camera, Nikon D5200, and you see this camera, you really like it, now you really want to get a better price. You're basically taking out your cell phone, I'm sure some of you have done that probably, and looking at the prices from other retailers. You're showrooming standing at Best Buy. It's a worrisome thing for Best Buy. Now, this is not just, the omni-channel retailing environment is not just empowering the consumers. So there is also something for the retailers. Knowing the fact that you're in my store, right? When someone is in your store, you can actually reach them in a very personal way. You can send them a very personal message, give them some upgrades, give them some coupons. This is what is happening in Apple stores with their iBeacon technology. The moment you walk in, they know you are in the store. They know that you may like an upgrade, right? So these are the things that are possible now in this environment. And definitely, as retailers, you need to compete in a very innovative way. And the next few slides, I'm going to share my thoughts around some of the strategies that could make you successful. The first one is curation and attractive pricing. If you think about it, what we're doing is we're basically merging the virtual inventory with physical world. And it's very easy for customers to be lost in this sea of products. Now, it's your job to really help the customers. So curation is the key here. The product will have to be curated very well and then obviously offered at an attractive price. A great example is Amazon. If you look at Amazon, practically anything that is carried on Amazon is also available on eBay. The key difference, Amazon is great at curation, eBay is not. If you go on eBay, you're kind of lost in the sea of products. The next thing is big data analytics. We hear a lot about big data analytics and really taking advantage of analytics. If you know a customer who has been to your store a few times in the last couple of weeks and left without buying something, and you can know that because of the apps and the check-ins and things like that, and then this customer is in the store today, maybe it's time to convert the sale. Send him a coupon for $10, and he will probably buy the product that he's tracking for the last several weeks. And you can track all this data today and actually use the history and analytics to predict that this person is going to convert if you send this coupon and convert the person. Now, naturally, as human beings, we're going to be trying to get the lowest price available out there. As retailers, your job is to really deal with it, right? Now, how do you deal with it? Well, let's try to avoid price comparisons. Focus on distinctive features of a product so that it's not really that easily readily available to compare with other products. A great example is mattress shopping. If you think about mattress shopping, any mattress that is available at the Bay, let's say Siemens, is practically similar mattresses available at Sleep Country or other retailers. The difference? The Bay one would probably have 800 coils, the other one has 805 coils. That basically allows the retailers to have different names for these products, different SKUs for these products. As consumers, you can no longer compare them apple to apple, right? So these are the ways you can really make things a little bit more difficult, so increase the search cost. The next thing is we're talking about virtual inventory merging with physical inventory. So it's important that the product knowledge the consumers gain in one channel is actually valid and carried in another channel. So if someone is shopping for a pair of shoes, standing in your store, they don't like any of the designs in the store, but they're inclined to buy something from the online virtual inventory, it's important that the size they try, the fit they find from the products in the store is also going to be valid, and it's going to fit perfectly when they get the shoe from online. It's ever more critical to have the same 30 size for your jeans no matter where you buy it from, right, as a retailer. The other thing is a lot of times retailers carry a lot of niche products that are not necessarily popular, and it's difficult to find. They're in the store, but it's difficult to find them. In that case, it's important to actually guide the customers to those products. Some apps like Take Me To It, which basically an app which takes you within the store, it guides you to the product. If you search for the product, can actually help consumers to get to the product and actually increase their value. Now, for my last 2 points, the first one is, as much as we want to compete on price, it's difficult. So it's important to really focus on some non-price attributes. So focus on customer experience. Focus on actually giving them some loyalty points, some check-in points. So this is how they actually don't feel like going to another retailer because of the experience they're getting from you. And my final point, embrace competition. In this omni-channel retailing, it's very difficult to hide from competition. With so much information around us, consumers are definitely going to find out who the best retailer is and what kind of pricing they're providing. So the strategy is to really embrace the competition, try to become world-class. And we can take some inspiration from the wine industry in Canada. Several decades ago, as many of you probably know, deregulation happened in wine industry. And because of the deregulation, definitely a lot of businesses were worried about getting out of business, basically losing business. And indeed, some wine manufacturers are out of business. Now, the good thing is the bad ones are out of business, right? The ones that are good, the ones that could focus on quality and price, produce high quality product, they're now world class. Now there is demand for Canadian wine outside in the world. And that is because they really embrace the competition and they focused on really improving and becoming a world class retailer or a producer. So my final thoughts, I'm sure you're sitting there and thinking, okay, what about privacy? Sure, these technologies are pushing the boundaries of privacy. There's no doubt about that. Now, the thing is, as consumers, if consumers see value in tracking, in providing coupons and providing information to you, and if you can create value for them, they'd be less resistant. But if you're not creating value, then definitely they'd be resistant to privacy and they'd be concerned. And like anything, with time, we're going to see less and less concern about privacy. But it is critical for you to really manage that very carefully to be successful in omnichannel retailing. The next thing is about honesty. In this environment, honesty is being enforced more than ever before. We have so much information out there, it's really hard to hide the bad apples. If you provide some bad service, it's going to be on some sort of site, on review sites. It's going to be out there. So if you think about the ski hills, right now it's very difficult for them to lie about the amount of snow they have on the hill, because you have apps, right, where people actually find out from other skiers the amount of snow. They don't really rely on the hills. So honesty is really being enforced more than ever before. And finally, retail has always been at the forefront of recognizing social trends and actually adapting to them. And therefore, we're seeing so much shift in retail. The tectonic shift we're seeing in retail is because of the social trends. And I firmly believe the geolocation is going to impact all industries. There is a lot of value in knowing the exact location of your employee and the amount of time they're spending on a task in the oil patch. And I bet you Malaysian Air would love to know the geolocation of the plane that is missing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. That was great. So now we're going to turn to our industry expert, Don Thompson. He has more than 25 years of experience in multi-channel and supply chain retailing across Canada and the US. Some of his clients include Staples, MEC, Sport Chek, Canadian Tire, and Petro-Canada. He currently operates Thompson Strategy Company, and Mohammed's already referred to it, the Take Me To It. He is a partner in that company where he is building smartphone apps to guide shoppers to specific products. Okay, thanks, Don.
Thank you very much, Lauren. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for the opportunity to speak with you today. I was asked by the university to be the industry expert, the counterpoint to Dr. Rahman, and we got to know each other over the last number of months. And from my many years of experience dealing with retailers, I really think that he's on the money. The first thing I want to do is refute what he said, though. You kind of get the impression that omni-channel retailing is a pretty recent event, and I don't think it is. Companies like the Bay and Eaton's were, I think, the first omni-channel retailers. Just think about it. They had to find a way to get into market. They had physical stores and they had cash, but they had people spread across the whole continent, basically. And what they had to do was then get into mail order, catalog, payment by check, layaways. They used all the resources that they had to get to those customers. And I would submit to you that, as Dr. Rahman talked about, actually, who, by the way, knew that Eaton sold houses? My father-in-law had one of them. Anyway, the key point, though, is that retailers always have to be looking forward into social and consumer trends to adapt to them as they move forward. They have to also look at it as both an opportunity or a threat. The opportunity is to grow. The threat is that you get bypassed, and I think everyone can think of different retailers who are no longer with us. So let's fast forward to today. There are numerous consumer trends. Mohammed talked about a bunch of those, but the key is that it's almost like the internet of everything. and what is happening to the consumer. The first is they're much more educated and informed. They have very high expectations. They know no boundaries to information and service types. They want everything now, and they want it their way. So that leads to a whole different perspective that people are going to have to deal with as omnichannel retailers. So you've probably heard of the term digital disruption. The consumers are influenced by all kinds of different technologies that interrupt them. Let's think about Amazon for a second. Who knew that Amazon today, you think of them as a bookseller, but who knew that they've got 90 regional fulfillment centers of 1 million square feet each? And most of the products that flow through there are not their books. It is, they offer this as a software as a service, as a technology, an integrated, instant omnichannel retailing opportunity for someone who's a bricks and mortar or a distributor to immediately use their technology to be in business tomorrow doing many of the things that Mohammed talked about. And so they're a $35 billion a year company, which is a tenth of what Walmart is, but they just started a few years ago. So here's another application that I think is very disruptive and a very good example. It's a company called Flip out of Toronto. What Flip has done, if you can sort of see in here, whoops, I'll go back. I got to push the right button. If you see here on the left-hand side are all flyers. Everyone gets flyers in the paper. So what they've done is they've digitized those flyers, they've extracted all the prices and the products, and they allow you to do a search for something like chicken and look through all those flyers, and it'll tell you who has the lowest price for chicken. But more important than that, if you've got a list of 4 or 5 or 10 different products that you're looking for, it'll show you which flyer has the cheapest price, but for the sake of convenience, they'll put them in a shopping basket and say, you know what, Superstore has the best aggregate price for the 10 things in your shopping cart. So I think the name Flip is very apropos because it's turning the retail world upside down. So let's talk about the customer's sales assistant. And this one's kind of funny here. No big surprise, it's the smartphone. So in there, there's technology today to do all these things. Compare prices, review anything, item availability, find stores, product information, images, videos, social sharing. And for many people, they like the fact that it's easy to find, much easier than the sales associate in the store. So that's great. It answers questions. But the unfortunate thing is it's not for that retailer's store. I saw a chart, I was in Toronto last week, and there's a company that does market intelligence, and they were doing some surveys for all the guest networks that exist in retail stores. And they said, okay, let's take Superstore. Here's the list of all the people, all the applications that are being surfed on your guest network. Not one of them was from Superstore. It was everything else except for Superstore. And that's scary. So, the question from an industry perspective is, well, is this omni-channel retailing, is this something that is for real, or is this another dot-com bust? And I'm going to say this is the real deal, and there's several factors for that. Number one is just culture. If you go back to 15 years ago, everyone has adapted so much more so to the online and mobile culture. The smart retailers back then did not have the infrastructure to be able to respond to online selling, mobile shopping, integrating with Amazon and other delivery organizations like that. But all that technology is pretty much in place today. They've already sunk those capital costs in. Now we just want to utilize them better. You have agility for hire. Amazon, UPS, FedEx. I'm sure everyone's probably bought something these ways. Another major thing that was missing 15 years ago with the dot-com bust is it was basically text screens on your browser. Today, suppliers and retailers are creating all kinds of engaging content that they can personalize specifically to a shopping experience or to whatever the person's looking for. So to me, the tipping point, which is in favor of everything that Dr. Rahman has said, is that you could say, big deal. Right now, 10% of North American purchases are online. But the important thing is that 50 to 80% of everybody who is doing product searching, or doing research online, and now what's happening is the savvy retailers and all these other disruptive technologies are presenting offers to do business right now. Right now when I'm researching TVs or a new car, the offer is right there in a different way that has to tie into the infrastructure of those retailers or be bypassed. So let me talk with you a little bit about some organizations you probably all well know, the Canadian Tire Group of companies. I had the opportunity to speak with some of their executives, and they basically explained that their digital strategy they now view as inseparable with their business strategy. So they started off doing flyers, and everyone's received these for years. They do, I think it's about 11 or 12 million flyers every weekend in Canada. It's a huge expense. And 55% of adult Canadians see these flyers, receive them in the mail every week. So what they discovered, though, is with Sport Chek. They tried the same strategy when the companies merged, and Sport Chek, only 18% of Sport Chek customers will even care about flyers, and they were losing money at it. So they had to think, well, how do we reach these people? It's got to be a completely different way. So they had to develop a new mindset, and this has been a real transformation in their corporate culture over the last year and a half or so. So they think of themselves as having this mindset of digitized retail. We're a retailer first. We're not going to abandon bricks and mortar. That will never go away. But we have to infuse digitized concepts throughout their technology or throughout their operation. The second thing is they realize that it takes a lot of capital and work effort to get over that hump to implementing this kind of a technology. And to an extent, they felt like they were actually a little bit behind their competition, but now they feel like they're ahead of it. By the way, if any of you have a chance to go to West Edmonton Mall, the Sport Chek store that has opened up in West Edmonton Mall was written up in the Wall Street Journal as perhaps the most significant technological retail store in the world right now. They have 80 different kiosks with different videos playing. So if you are in the women's shoes, you're looking at some Nike runners, you could look at a video right on the spot of proper running technique for Nike. So they've really tried to merge all of this technology into one place. A third thing, which was really a big difference in making the transition to omnichannel retailing, and a big difference from the dot-com bust, is that all those investments were made without, they're just kind of expected, if you build it, they will come. So now excuse me, the successful retailers are providing stewardship through the CIO of every single ROI opportunity. So they're ranking, if we are going to invest in some kind of new technology, it has to have a provable ROI, and we'll rank them and we'll implement them accordingly. Lastly, when you've got this kind of technology, ask why on everything. You can't go with the status quo. So the new retailer sales assistant is the smartphone again, doing all these things. But it's for your store. And one of the points that Dr. Rahman made is if you do not have, as those consumers are in your stores using other disparate apps, you better give them something that grounds them to you in your sphere of influence. So they're going to do that. Now, I want to introduce a new term to you. There's a gentleman who's written a number of different books. His name is Jay Baer. He's coined a term, a utility. And this is, if I had a takeaway for today, it would be this term. Utility means that consumers and all shoppers, and I would submit, whether it's a business-to-business organization or business-to-consumer, people are looking for value and usefulness. So the concept of utility is typically a mobile application which actually provides real value to your customers. So a couple of examples, this is one of the companies I'm involved with, is that retailers still need to drive traffic and sales conversion. So one of the ways is to plug the Take Me To It technology into their existing mobile shopping application, browse through products, and then in the bottom right-hand corner you can see there's a little button. You push that button and up pops a map, which can show you specifically where those products are in 3 dimensions to within 10 centimeters. So I could find this product right here. Some of the applications for this are if you are in a grocery store and you're looking for gluten-free products, for example. It could show you specifically what those things are. Or you could order online, have the store do a $5 delivery charge, and have their employees go and pick those products for you. There's some merging of omni-channel concepts. Another local company, a company by the name of Spotcast, they've looked at the challenge for local organizations to be able to promote themselves. And what they've really created is I like to think of it as, it's kind of like Twitter for retailers. So a local store manager who's got not enough customers in his store at the moment can do a local promotion on the spot. Customers can receive that. They can tie in an electronic flyer and a map to the store to drive instantaneous sales to that store. So Mr. Lube is one of their clients. So sort of in summary, what are some of the attributes of success that are making a difference to the retailers that are moving forward? Number one is, all of this technology, you can't go hire one person who knows it all. So you need to look to hire the best people and build in-house expertise. Number two, invest in technology platforms that can evolve over time. And again, those things are all doable. Number three, because of the entire value chain being much more data and content centric, centralize that so you have control of it and you can propagate it through multiple methods in your business. Number three, or four, is that content is the new value. So make sure that you do a good job of creating that content. Your suppliers will help you to do that. Cultural changes are also very important. You have to be able to onboard everyone from the C-suite to employees and include your partners and your suppliers who are all actually probably ahead of the game and ready to help you in that process. And lastly, just start. Give yourself permission to fail quickly, learn from that, and you know, there's no wrong way to do it. Just keep trying it, measuring it, and see if it's gonna work for you. Thank you very much. One last thought. For everyone here, whether you're in retail or not, I've always been hugely impressed by the fact that retailers have to be in the forefront of tapping into social changes. And whether you're in a B2B or a B2C marketplace, retail is a good place to learn new things that might apply to your business. Thank you very much.
What we do now is we have time for questions. However, I'm going to start with a question for each presenter just because I have the mic. All right? So my first question is for Mohammed. And Mohammed, I'm wondering, can you give me an example of a store that has been really successful with this strategy that you've just talked about?
Well, I guess, you know, like a store you could think of in Canadian context is MEC. Right, so it is very big on digital. So, and you know, it's been really very successful in combining all the strategies and really creating a lot of exclusive products, great products where, you know, its members are really happy about and doing very well. Another store that comes to mind is Williams Sonoma that, you know, did extremely well. So in this Christmas season, almost all retailers are in negative except for that retailer. And if you look at their whole strategies because of omnichannel retailing, so they actually push a coupon to convert people and predict it very well.
Okay.
Can I add a couple
Please
things?
do.
Please do. I worked actually directly with Mountain Equipment Co-op for about 15 years. And he's so right. One of the things that's really cool about Mountain Equipment Co-op is because they're a member-driven organization, they really do try to connect with their customers. They design products specifically. They actually get customers to come in and help them to design backpacks and comment on product design to make it a unique product that is not directly comparable to something that you might find at Sport Chek, for example.
Okay, so Don, I have a question for you. What is the cost or what is the shift for a retailer from flyers to the digital apps?
Well, if you look at the Canadian Marketing Association statistics on what's working in generating retail sales, flyers has always been the number one. It works. It continues to work, and that's why you keep getting them every weekend. They've created, they statistically know that if they do so much in flyers, any retailer, that they're going to get so much in revenue. So they've built up, you know, you hear the term big data. Well, they statistically know exactly if I spend this much on flyers, I'm going to get this much in return. Now, what happens if you start to go digital, you're trying new technologies that don't have any backing with years worth of history. So they're having to explore with that. And you know, it's a bit of a wait and see, I'd say, Lauren. They have to do it because there are people that just aren't looking at flyers. But there is a cost to trying new things, but they have to do it. They don't have any choice.
Okay. Are there questions from the floor? Okay, Kim.
I love retail. My question is, a couple of weeks ago, I read a great story in the Herald about two family-run businesses, one a grocer and one a drugstore in Bridgeland. I don't know if anyone else did, and I thought, I want to go to those stores. I want to meet those people that run those stores. And so my question to you is, what part of the market continues to reside with the small business, family-run sort of organization for those of us that like those types of businesses?
Sure. Well, you know, like if you think about it, this omnichannel retailing is not really against small businesses. If anything, it's actually helping you to find them better. So, you know, like with your app, let's say, you know, you don't know about the store, you're driving around some Crowchild and you want to know what is the small business you want. As long as there is a directory and an app, you will get there. And, you know, I'm sure there are apps like that that can find you those stores. Now, the challenges obviously would lie with them as well. They have to make sure they cater to these customers who are now so much more connected to technology. So they cannot be totally behind, but I do see that, you know, if they do well, they'll get more customers because, you know, that information is going to be out there very quickly.
From my perspective, I'd say that the more specialized the product is, or the product knowledge and the self-service, the more that those smaller businesses will thrive. If you've ever been to New Zealand, New Zealanders don't let big box companies come into their country because it kills all their little businesses. And it's so you go to there and it's like going back 30 years in time to all these wonderful cottage businesses everywhere. But I think that excuse me, there's a place for all those businesses, but they will compete based on their service level and their carrying of specialty products.
You were giving lots of examples of retailers trying to connect directly with the consumer. Are there any examples of retailers using this kind of mobile data and information to train their current employees, pushing out training information, enabling employees to use Point to give better service to their customers, or even incenting employees if they get good feedback on things like Urban Spoon, that they get not only, you know, a tip program from that or something along those lines?
A leading retailer in that is American Eagles. So basically what they have is they have this Wi-Fi triangulation, and they have all these images, video images they're seeing in the store for customers. And based on those, they actually send sales associates to customers, figuring out that this customer is probably looking for some help. So, you know, there is definitely great use of these technologies in terms of helping employees and really doing better. And you know, a lot of restaurants are now taking orders based on iPads and things like that. I don't have concrete data, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of those are actually tying some of the incentives based on those usage.
From my perspective, a growing number of retailers are outfitting their employees with smartphones. Interestingly, the iPhone more than anything else, because they will also integrate it with, they call it a sled. Think of it as a very ruggedized case that has scanning technology. So those employees will have apps, more so for internal functions, but they can also go to their website to check things out too. The use of iPads and tablets has become a sales tool for a lot of organizations who also have good online websites so that they can answer a customer's question by going to the website and at the same time help that employee to become, or that customer to see that those kind of answers are available online in a very fluid way.
This question is for Don. You mentioned that you have worked with marks and sport experts, and I recently learned that they removed the commissioning structure from their sales force on the floor. So talking about the digital disruption, is also this part of you know, their digitized strategy that they have currently establishing? So how good now the employees would be affected? Well, I don't know if you know exactly, but in your point of view, what would be the impact to change also how the sales force structures will change due to these new technologies?
I wasn't aware that they had done that. One example of that does come to mind, though, is that Future Shop and Best Buy are owned by Best Buy. Future Shop uses a commission structure. Best Buy doesn't. So I think that was there to promote customer service and to make the customer experience feel like they're not being hit on by a commissioned salesperson to make to make it more educational. I could see that in Work Warehouse's case. I think it could well be the same kind of thing. Is there someone here from Work Warehouse that could comment? But I think overall, consumers don't want to be sold. They want to have somebody help them to purchase things and to make an informed choice. And the digital component of that it's huge. If you've got really good content, really good information that you can provide to your employees, that should be equally accessible to your customers on the sales floor or wherever.
Question around, I think really closely related to digital retailing and showrooming and all that is the payment side, and wondering where you guys see digital wallets and mobile payments, et cetera. How do you see that evolving in Canada?
Wow. You know, like, so the concierge model I talked about, it's all about digital payments, right? So this is where, I mean, we're moving to that model where you can practically do everything with your smartphones, including paying. And in fact, I believe in Apple stores now you can do that. So you basically walk in, you pay with your app, you walk out, right? You can do that at Starbucks. You basically pay with your app and you leave, right? So definitely that's a huge part of this transformation. And there are lots of interesting challenges there because you have to worry about security, you have to worry about lost cell phones and things like that. But I guess the good thing is we can probably learn from the Japanese and the Koreans because they're so much ahead of us in those technologies and in terms of those payments. So certainly that is going to be a critical factor, and the banks will probably have to make sure they're actually on par in terms of providing those services when it comes to clearing payments and things like that.
Yeah, just a quick thing. I know that digital wallets just haven't caught on in North America. The usage is much higher in Europe. And it's a cultural thing. I think that the cultural, somehow that cultural change would have to change to increase adoption. I know that there are companies out there. There's another Calgary startup company which has created an ability for you to order. So suppose that you have a product which could be bought online, but you can pick it up in store at Mark's Work Warehouse, for example. You can actually pay for it, and it actually gives you like an electronic chit, if you like, that is redeemable in the store. So you can pay anywhere and pick up from wherever you pick. So they're actually divorcing the two technologies. So there's all kinds of interesting things coming down. But I think cultural change just hasn't embraced it so much in North America yet.
Okay, I do have one question. How many apps am I going to have on my phone?
Well, that is a very good question, actually. One of the things that people are, because one of the companies that involved, we had to look at the Take Me To It application. Do we make it a downloadable app, or do we just make it a plug-in to someone's existing mobile website? And the answer resoundingly was to make it a plug-in to an existing website, because people don't, there's definite pushback in having to download apps all the time. But from many retailers' point of view, or any consumer, you've got a more captive customer. If they've brought you to download the app, then they want that captiveness. So it's, you kind of have to do both if you're the retailer.
Yeah, and where I'm thinking is, I think most of us have got pretty savvy about not giving our emails to stores anymore, even though they're going to send us coupons, right?
Right.
So there is that. I have a question for Mohammed. You still haven't convinced me that my privacy isn't of utmost importance. Is there going to be an app for protecting privacy?
Potentially. There are apps that are probably protecting your credit cards and other stuff. I would say this, definitely there would be a lot of concerns about privacy. And it would vary between age groups and the type of customers you are, how technology savvy and all that stuff. But think about the internet. I guess it seems like we always had it, but it's not the case. Internet was commercialized in 1994, around that time. In the early days of internet, people were really worried about going to the internet and doing anything there, right? I mean, touching a computer was kind of scary. Today, I would bet that you don't even worry about doing anything on internet. That's because it has become so integral part of our life, right? So over time, we just don't worry about that. But these privacy concerns that we're talking about, the same things were there on internet. But like when I see on Facebook people talking about every single moment of their life, I suspect it's really not a big concern anymore, right? And over time, I would bet that this is not going to be a big concern. At the moment, it's an opt-in thing. It has to be done for the retailers because you don't want to basically force everyone on it. But once you become something like Facebook, you just say, I don't care what the users say. I'll just remove this privacy option from you, and you either stick to it or you leave. But most people don't leave.
Thank you so much for coming today.